let's say you have a product, right? So you're,
Mhm.
once again, you have unique items and stuff like that.
Right, right, right,
Let's say
right.
I'm making soap, right? Something like that. I like how you look at me and you're like, that sounds like something you're probably doing, Justin. You're making
Are you
soap.
making soap?
None of us would doubt it, so he probably is.
Um,
I mean, it's a good business to get into right now.
is it really?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
Just think about it. Everyone's
And
trying to stay clean and like wash their hands.
now
oh,
he's
that's
making soap.
oh,
Yeah,
oh, that could,
everyone's been primed to buy a lot of soap.
oh, really? Yeah, no, this would be perfect for that actually,
Yeah,
because I
see?
think it just, I don't think customers, they, I think, just assume if you're on Amazon that you're already a credible business. Do you kind of
Mhm.
think that that's how a customer would feel when you had that Amazon store? Like it gave you a little bit more cachet than like, and Etsy's a different kind of look. It's like I'm a crafty type of person, right? And
Oh man,
Shopify, they just think you have your
yeah.
own website, right?
I think okay, now it's starting to come back to me. Okay, scratch what I said about okay, I did raise the price so I could get out of there because the 30 days without selling is true. But I just remember because I make patches and you would search for patches. Yes, if you are a small business and you have like soaps, you look like you know what you're doing on Amazon. And that's why I did it. I was like, oh, this is great. I'll look like so
Yeah.
established. But like if you search for patches, you get like you're competing with like Sour Patch Kids. That's what it
Yeah,
was. And like just
that's
like these
funny.
packs of like 50 like pre-made patches. And like I would be so low on the list. And then it was like one of those things where it's like you're trying to like when you have a small business, you're like juggling so many hats. And it's like I'm dealing with my website, I'm dealing with my Etsy, I'm
Yeah.
dealing with like wholesale, I'm dealing with custom. Oh, and I have to remember to ship that Amazon order. And I think I was like in some other sort of like third party thing. So it's a lot of hat to juggle. But if it works for you and like it's a great way to start. Another cool site that I'm not on there yet, but I was starting to at the start of COVID, but then things kind of, it's Fair. Have you heard of Fair?
No, I haven't heard that.
I actually just did some custom patches for them, so this is good. I scratch their back, they scratch mine. So basically, what
Hustle.
they're like an Etsy,
Okay.
but they're being the third party between a small business and like a store, like a boutique small business, and then a maker small business.
Right here?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Fair with an E.
Oh, with
at
me.
the end. Yeah. And so it's really cool. So you make an account, Fair, and then add an E at the end, FAIRE.
Oh, got it. Right.
Yeah. And you don't have to pay a monthly fee, but they take a certain percentage of every sale.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able, so they have their 60-day thing. And like, I had like an interview with, and you can't be sold on Amazon. So it just depends on what your business is and how you want. This is for like handmade, but it's a pretty good tool. And like you can, but the problem is that there's definitely an algorithm on it. And I was all geared up and ready to go, but then, shelter in place stopped and I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this because if a store decides to buy your stuff, you send it to the store. I forget the percentage. Maybe Fair takes like 30%, we'll say. And then the store has like 60 days. And if they don't sell within that 60 days, they can return it. And then it goes back onto Fair. And it definitely like, it goes into this like return section. And like, I feel like your whole, like your reputation, the algorithm kind of gets shifted. So that's why I kind of was like, now it's not the right time.
That sounds cutthroat. That's pretty nuts.
But it's a cool tool if you're like starting out and you like want to get your stuff into stores, and it's like you can look at it like a trade show.
Yeah.
But
it's really interesting. Like where you sell online is so important. Just like what neighborhood you put a brick and mortar store, and it totally changes the vibe. It changes your audience.
Yeah,
it's kind of strange.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
and like
I remember you just killed Instagram. Like I remember it was just extremely popular on Instagram. You're drawing tons and tons of traffic. Is that correct?
But I wanted to bring this up because it is very important as a small business owner, or just like if you're trying to sell anything, to not just rely on Instagram or social media to get your business and your traffic, because that algorithm is a weird little beast, because I'm just going to talk about, okay, so like, yes, it looks great, this and that, whatever. But then I think it was like the strangest thing, like the back in, when was it? The start, end of August, early September, like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, engagement super down, losing tons of followers. And I'm just like so confused, like what is going on? And I was like, okay, maybe I need to like make new patches. People are sick of seeing these and they want to see new designs. So I kind of like, took a step back, and then I did new patches. You can even like go on and like shows, it's like crazy. Like I would go from having thousands of likes and gaining hundreds of followers to like getting like maybe 300 likes and like 3,000 people and it was like that. And I think what it was because it was right when they were introducing the new reel feature. And so people like, because I would get, you get on the explore page, and that's how you would like generate new followers and new likes. And just like trends are changing, people's interests are changing, and like, but then all of a sudden now it seems like, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden things are going back to the way they were before. So it's just, you can't like rely on that as your only source.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
That's good advice
for people to recognize. Yeah.
When we teach it, I like talk about how this is just a black box. And it's almost like this god of algorithms that you don't even understand. We can kind of figure out how it works, but you can never fully understand it, and you can't take advantage of it for too long.
Oh yeah. It's crazy. Like I was like digging on Reddit and these threads. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what does shadow banning mean? Did I get shot? It was like, it was crazy because you have no control over it.
You're like, am I a political figure now? What is this?
Yeah. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I get canceled? Like, I don't know. But like, luckily I had like my wholesale, and like I was doing a lot of custom work. So like, it wasn't like I like I was like doing well because I try really hard not to just focus on that, but it's definitely a great tool to use to promote new products, and to just like, it's great. Like now that I'm getting back, I don't know, somehow I got back in, knock on wood. Like I went from having maybe like 30 website views a day to like back to over like 150. Just, it's just like, it's just crazy the way it's just, and the internet is a very strange beast.
You attribute when it was going good before this whole thing went crazy. I mean, even in the beginning, you attribute people being your post being so sticky to others from what? Like, did you ever figure out what it was that was drawing? I mean, that's a lot of views, a lot of followers, a lot of traffic just from posting something on Instagram without any.
I think, it's good in the beginning to like, if you're trying to like build an Instagram or like social media presence, it's super important to engage, to like find which hashtags you think are relevant to what you're doing, and to go and just, kind of go a little crazy, like and follow. And it depends on what your product is, but like sending it to people, it's so hit or miss. But sometimes I feel like nowadays I wouldn't recommend that, just because people are they think they're an influencer. They think they can just take your product and like you're doing them a favor, but like, they're not really valuing what you're giving you sometimes. I don't know. Don't include that, because just in case I said too much about influencers, I have a lot of personal opinions.
I think they would admit it.
Yeah, it just depends. Yeah, I don't know. It all depends. And it depends on like what sort of, I think if you have a better understanding about what works, you can kind of like guide them, be like, this is what I want. This is like this sort of photo style. Like I need it by this date. Some people send contracts. I don't have.
These are influencers you're talking about?
Yeah, to send to influencers if like they want free products. I'm going totally on a different track.
This is interesting. Like, are you doing this kind of stuff all the time? Yeah. Like, what is?
No, I don't do it anymore. It's garbage. But in the beginning, to get momentum, that's how I would do it. And I think just like doing that, giveaways are a really great way to get followers. If you do group giveaway, I'm just thinking of all the different ways that I was able to like get to where I'm at. Consistency.
A bunch of questions now. All right. Well, so influencer. It seems like you're trying to stay away from the influencer topic. That's fine.
We could talk about it, I guess.
How about hashtags? Really, how did you figure out the hashtags that you wanted to use with your?
One thing I've learned well, when I took that business planning class, our teacher was like very much, there was a whole like topic on talking about like knowing who your competitor is
Yeah.
and who your audience is. So you got to like we have to make like a persona for our customer. And I think it's good to know who your like it's good to go out there and like look at other brands that are doing something like kind of similar to you, whether you like them or you dislike them, and to like keep an eye on them. And you can kind of look at what hashtags they're using, which ones are working. And you can also like if you want to get really creepy, if there's someone specific that you really want to see your stuff, you can like look and see what hashtags they follow and kind of go from there. And I think it's good. Like I have like a little, I don't know, when I was going crazy on Reddit, apparently this is a no-no, that if you do the same hashtags, Instagram finds out, but I don't know how true that is. So I have like a note, like memo thing on my phone with all different hashtags that I like to use.
Nice.
And you kind of just, you want to stay relevant. It's important. If it's like, another thing I think I did that really helped is I downloaded an app, because I do a lot of like music or like pop culture references. So I downloaded like a celebrity birthday app, so I would know which celebrity's birthday it was, and then I would do their hashtag on their birthday.
Oh, that's smart. That's really smart.
And do that.
That's a good hack.
Yeah. So just like you got to just kind of, you got to get creative. You got to think a little outside the box. And so sometimes you can, go ahead.
The goal of the hashtag of the birthdays, the strategy was to have them like your post because you said happy birthday to them? Or what was the goal?
Well, I would know, because people on Instagram, like if you do something, they'll be like, oh my God, I have to prove that I love Stevie Nicks, so I have to post that it's her birthday. Or like, and then they might repost a post that you did to their story. And it's like, yeah, okay. So yeah, and you can like go through and like in the beginning, what I would do. So I would do that, and then I would go through and I would like all I would like a bunch of photos. And if it was like a fan page for that person and they had a good engagement and like a lot of followers, I might reach out to them and be like, hey, would you be interested in a patch for a post? Let me know. Yeah. So
nice.
Things like that is the good way that I found to get a little momentum. But nowadays, I don't know. People are there's a couple people that I use, but I don't know. It's good to not rely on other people sometimes.
Yeah, the landscape is shifting all the time. It makes sense.
Yeah.
What would be the whale, like a whale is like the big one. Like what would be the influencer that you would try to get in particular? Like if you could
I don't have one. I don't like them. I don't dislike them. I've actually I just feel like because somebody likes an influencer's post doesn't mean that they're going to like your product and buy it.
Right.
And that's a really big risk to take. And like, I think a good way, like I've found that when I've worked with but that's just for my brand. If I was selling like hats or something or like shoes, maybe it would be different. But like what I found works for me as like an influencer is like a band that I work with, they buy some custom patches and they post about it. I see a huge difference. Like I feel like that's how I can like potentially gain a lot of followers. Or like if you're doing a market and the market like posts like your product, sometimes that's a good way. But for me, like, and I'm not saying all influencers are bad. I just think like an example, this one girl like messaged me and was like, hey, I'm an influencer, would love to do your product or promote your product. And I was like, okay, like what are you thinking? Because they always say collaborate, which like it's not a collaboration because they're not doing anything but taking a photo with something sorry, maybe that is a collaboration because they're whatever. And she like sent me something back as like $50 for a story post. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then she blocked me because I never responded. Like, your ego is that fragile. Okay. So I don't know. And there's scams out there too.
Do you need to have before you could start emailing people to give you $50 to post their stuff? Like how many followers do I need to have where that becomes a conversation?
I don't know, but like it depends. Like, are you buying those followers? You have to do your research. You have to see
Right.
what their engagement's like on every post. And if you look and you see that a lot of those, you look through their followers, their likes, you check. If it's all like weird thoughts, then like
Yeah.
like you
People
keep
from other countries
walking.
and stuff, right? You want to make
Yeah,
sure their demographic fits yours too, right? Oh, wow.
exactly. Yeah.
How do you know when not to? So you're just one person, a one person show all the time, and it's
Uh huh.
very easy to spin your wheels and waste tons of time, and then it doesn't work out, right?
Uh
How
huh.
do you
Uh
know
huh.
when to stop, or when to stop doing one thing and then pivot to something else?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think, oh man, it's hard. Okay. So for me, if I'm doing like a new design, and I think it's this great idea, and I have it in my head, and I keep doing samples, and it's like, or I keep trying to draw it, and it's not like adding up. And then it's always good to like put it away, get some sleep, come back, try it again. And like I think after like 3 or 4 times, then maybe it's like it's not the right time or it's not the right fit, and you have to just like walk away because you have to. But it's really hard to do, so I don't know.
Yeah, that sunk time thing is
Yeah.
tough.
And,
Yeah,
and it sounds like sometimes you're posting stuff that you don't think is going to be successful. So you just have to post it and see what happens if you put that time in, right? It sounds like.
exactly. Well, yeah, and like I mean, in terms of product, like I think it's also important that you got you should only post things if you're like 80% confident in it. Like don't post something just to post it, or don't put something online just because you spent 5 weeks on it. It's like if it's not good, it's not good. So you just have to walk away. Or
And at
5 weeks is a long time. I
this
don't
point,
know.
you're
It's
not
like a long
asking
amount of time
friends.
on something.
At this point, you're not asking friends. It's just your own intuition based on what you know. Is that right? Or
Yeah, I asked my friends or I asked my mom, and she always has something to say.
Yeah, it's always nice to have an opinionated mom as a designer. It's cool.
Sometimes.
I'm sure she
Depends
has
on the day.
that sensibility too, right? Um,
Yeah, I sent her these things. I was like, look at it, it's done. She's like, oh, that's great. What other color material do you have?
I think that looks so cool.
yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, they're associated with space, right? It's like a space background, so it's
Yeah,
perfect.
that's what I was doing. I don't know, but it's good.
yeah. And
But sometimes it's good to listen to all
if you
feedback.
give us free ones, we'll post it on our Instagram.
All of our
What?
followers.
Um,
It's nice to know that. I mean, it's interesting in both. It's nice to know that even though you've kind of cracked what works for your audience and your brand and everything, you're still not 100% sure. You're never positive a design will sell. The ones that you think are going to be the best might not be the best. So um,
That's
it's
the
just
beauty
fascinating.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
fun. And I'm very curious to see how these wall hangings do. I hope they go well because it's trying to branch out. But I don't know. Do my customers not want to spend that much in this? So, I mean, there's so many things to think about.
It
But
seems like it would be
let's
associated because everyone I
see.
know who has patches and is into that kind of thing has like they're really into like yarn art and like stuff you hang on the
yeah.
wall that's like that. It's like perfect.
You never know, though. It's just, yeah, we'll see. You can't be too confident.
So based
I
on
don't
your
know.
MBA from that program in San Francisco for 6 weeks, and
Yeah.
your own personal experience, what would you recommend to somebody if they're trying to think of their own ideas to start a business? Would you tell them to go for it? Would you tell them to like what be your advice? Yeah, in general.
Um. Yeah. I mean, go for it. I mean, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I guess don't spend all of your money on something, but if you believe in it, you should do it and see what happens. And I you never know. I really for me, I really pinned myself in a corner by naming my business Patch You Later, but you never know where something might go. If you have an idea, you should just,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. Do I want to make patches forever? No, but do I want to design things and do stuff within like the graphic sort of like world? Yes, I'll figure it out one way or another, but I think it's important to if you have an idea, you should go for it. Don't just sit on it, because
The
you never know
name's
what's going to happen.
name's amazing. Um,
So what if I don't want to do patches anymore? Do I have to do
what
the
made
name?
you choose patches in the first place?
Oh, because it was easy. Because
I think that's good advice, though. Actually, do something that's easy, right? Do
well,
something
yeah,
that's
um,
inexpensive, right?
yeah. Well, for me, because you have this machine and you hoop the material, and I was trying to go way too big, way too early, and I was trying to like do jackets, and there's so many little factors in this like world, like there is with any world, that like unless you're experienced, you're not going to nail it the first time around, and it was just really making me mad. But then patches, it seemed a little easier because I could just hoop a fabric,
Right.
and I didn't have to worry about alignment. I didn't have to worry about how thick the material is. So yeah, so if you want to do something, maybe take a step back and like know that something is your end goal, and figure out a baby step to get to that goal.
Well, it's kind of cool. It's like you wanted to do visual design, graphic design, something maybe with fashion, but it didn't matter what your canvas was to some capacity, and then patches are it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
And I think definitely having the tools that you can get from, Professor Hoffman's classes are really good to help get your business off the ground, because there are so many people who have ideas but don't know how to make an Instagram, make a website, I know there's other social medias, but make a social media presence, or get that like the SEO or whatever you're doing, so there's, and even like basic Photoshop or like Illustrator skills are really good, get your branding done, your business. So it's all important. It all works.
Yeah, it's amazing every time we see someone from BCC succeed like this. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, 50,000 followers or something? It's impressive.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, but it's also important to not just focus on that, because at the end of the day, it's how much money you have in your bank account.
Right. 100% of the time, we know it's because of the individual and what they did, and not what we did. but
No, it was.
What was your experience like? I know I don't want to jump too far ahead to say that you were in the store, but I know you were working with Urban Outfitters at some point in time to get your stuff.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that was very
really
early on,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what I was doing. And there's a part of me that like sometimes when I'm feeling kind of down, I'm like, oh, if only I knew what I do now back when I started, sort of like thing. But yeah, I think it was I just got lucky. It was patches were super on trend, and just a buyer they just reached out to me and they wanted to have them, and they put them on their website, and I actually but like for what I do, because there's a lot of steps you have to, because it was just going to be online, so you have to pack them, you have to show them your packaging, they have to approve it. Okay, so then you have your packaging, and then you have to put the SKU sticker on that, and then you have to put that in another poly sealed bag and put another SKU sticker on it. So I'm making the things and I'm packing it all like that. So it's just that's somebody's job, if you're like a t-shirt company, that's what you do for 8 hours a day. So, and I'm still charging the same price that I would for like a mom and pop shop where I just pack it in a bag and send it off. But it was great. Like they posted on their Instagram, and it was and so it was really cool. And it was something that, I got a couple of orders from them, but then the whole trend of patches kind of like stopped. And so the orders stopped, but it wasn't really something like, I think it was definitely nice to have it on there, but it wasn't like, I made a ton of money from it. I have like small businesses that have given me much more money than that, but that's what works for my customer.
That's awesome.
So I'm trying to think what other things. Oh yeah, and I remember at one point they had a photo of a patch on their website, but it was a patch they had not ordered. And so I was like, so I'm like, oh, sorry, we'll add that to the order.
Oh gosh, that's really funny. The next phrase out of my mouth was going to be, at least they didn't steal your design, because they famously did that,
It's really impressive what you've done.
Thanks.
And check out Patch It Later. Go buy a big wholesale amount of patches, and look forward to the coming release. I'd like to see some syringes and like bubblers in there and stuff like that, biotech style, but I'll buy them even if they're not.
On a patch or like a
I don't know.
physical?
Don't take my advice.
Okay.
Let's don't be in charge of the COVID-21 collection.
Oh, of course. Okay.